INEOS might not have a choice over the future of Erik ten Hag. The managerial candidate list is drawn up. It doesn't include Southgate. It includes Nagelsmann, Motta. But will those managers even want to come to Manchester United? Apparently, a lot of managers are reluctant to join United with Liverpool, Bayern, and Barcelona all in need of a manager this summer. Will INEOS really not have a choice but to keep Ten Hag? We'll talk about the latest on that and conversations that have reportedly gone down between Jim Ratcliffe and Ten Hag, with Ten Hag pleading for his job. But we've also got reports that United are making a move for a Barcelona centre-back. Casemiro is a player that INEOS don't rate and could be moved on this summer, and more stories that we're going to round up in the next 10 minutes for you guys. So please do hit that like button if you haven't already, and of course subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. Let's dive into our first story on the manager situation by iPaper Sport. And I think out of all the stories on the manager situation that's come out the last few days, I think this is the most accurate in terms of the context it provides. I think some sources say he'll stay, some sources say he'll go. But I think this report, and I'm going to get into it, we've got 3 slides, really provides a good level of context. They said, despite suffering 2 agonising stoppage time setbacks in the past week, Erik ten Hag is not thought to be under immediate threat of being sacked as Manchester United manager, partly down to the lack of viable alternatives. So Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are planning for next season with ten Hag, but insist they're not completely won over. So Ratcliffe and those as planning for next season with ten Hag, but they're not completely won over by him, and things could change. But they know that it's going to cost to sack ten Hag. They know there's not loads of managers available to replace ten Hag. Obviously, there's Amorim, there's Nagelsmann, there's Motta, but Liverpool, Bayern, Barcelona all looking for managers. Potentially even Chelsea is going to get quite slim, especially because of the sort of situation Man United have been in with managers in the last 10 years. As big as the club is and as attractive as the club is, if you are a manager, you know that no one succeeded post Alex Ferguson, and it's a bit of a risk. And we spoke about this in my live stream last night. I said, even though lots of reports are coming out saying that INEOS would part ways with ten Hag, I don't think INEOS would part ways with ten Hag unless there was a manager that they wanted to replace ten Hag that they were confident that they were going to get. And we don't know if that's the case, and we don't know if any conversations have gone by, because Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein said we haven't discussed anything with other managers, which would suggest that maybe they just plan to keep ten Hag. And Ratcliffe's comments about the environment at United being the biggest problem could also suggest they might be interested in keeping ten Hag. However, it was said that further poor results before the end of the season may force the hand of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford to sack ten Hag. The pair have drawn up a list of possible replacements, but several top contenders are lukewarm about the prospect of taking over United, given the monumental task at hand, which I think is fair. I think this is probably the best report in terms of giving context to the manager situation. They're planning with ten Hag, they like ten Hag, they appreciate what he's done, and they know the environment's the biggest problem, but they're not completely convinced and won over by ten Hag. But there's not many alternatives available that they're guaranteed to get. I think if Pep Guardiola came to INEOS tomorrow and said, I want the Man United job, they'd sack ten Hag. I think if Jurgen Klopp came to Man United tomorrow and said, I want the Man United job, they sack ten Hag. I think if it's Graham Potter or Southgate or Gary O'Neill as the alternatives, because all the other alternatives are gone, I think they keep with ten Hag. I think that's maybe INEOS' thinking. But I also think INEOS think, well, look, this isn't great under ten Hag and he's not super convincing, but what he did at Ajax, what he did last season was convincing. No manager succeeded post Alex Ferguson. Let's get recruitment right. And we obviously know, and we're going to get into this, that they're going to change the recruitment structure. So ten Hag's going to have less of a say, and he's going to be a head coach. And if he becomes a head coach and things go wrong next season, he's a lot easier to replace. And we'll dive into that in a second. Now, it was said that INEOS had placed Julian Nagelsmann high on their shortlist for the next Manchester United manager if they sack Erik ten Hag. Nagelsmann is keen to stay on as Germany manager after the Euros, but could be persuaded to join United should Germany have a poor tournament. A lot of sources linking us to Nagelsmann. I think Nagelsmann's a great manager, but again, he's very similar to Rangnick. He's very tactically diverse, and he's had issues with man management. You know, I think it could be a similar situation to Ralf Rangnick coming into United. Obviously, Nagelsmann's better manager than Rangnick. Will the players be able to play the way that Nagelsmann wants to play? Will he be able to communicate with our players? They can't play ten Hag's way. They can't play Rangnick's way. They couldn't play anyone's way. I think if INEOS sign the right players and then Nagelsmann comes in 2 years later as a head coach, I think it would be very different to Nagelsmann coming in this summer right now with this current United squad. It was also said that Manchester United are considering Bulgarian manager Thiago Motta, and Juventus have him as their first choice manager. I think, again, Thiago Motta, a good manager, but if you look at the current Man United players available, he's not going to be able to do much of that. He'd have to get recruitment right. If we do bring in a new manager, it's so important we get recruitment right, because while ten Hag's setup has been poor, to be fair to ten Hag, I don't think Nagelsmann comes in and gets us playing great football. I don't think Motta comes in and gets us playing great football, because the tactical IQ, I think, of our squad is low, and we don't have players available to play such ways that if we do bring in a new manager, you've got to get recruitment spot on. It was said by the Mail that even if Ten Hag keeps his job as Manchester United manager this summer, the Dutchman is set to have less control over the club's policy and new owners, INEOS. It then dived into more detail to say, although Erik ten Hag has insisted that he feels aligned with INEOS and will continue to have a significant say in transfer structure, the manager will be more focused on coaching the team, which I think is good. I think that Ten Hag maybe trusts INEOS are the right people now, with Omar Bral, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox coming in to make decisions on recruitment, and Ten Hag can just focus on the coaching. What I'm aware of is that INEOS are going to see Ten Hag as a coach. They're sort of going to recruit players to play this way at United, and they want Ten Hag to coach Man United to play this way. And if Ten Hag can't do that, they'll bring in another manager. Graham Potter played good football at Brighton. These players were signed for him. When Graham Potter left, De Zerbi can kind of pick off where Graham Potter left off and played a similar style of football because he had the players available. They have a coach to play a certain way, and they buy players to play a certain way. And I think they want to have that model at United. So if they do sack Ten Hag, let's say they go, there's so many changes to make, let's not sack Ten Hag, let's actually back Ten Hag this summer. But we get to Christmas and Ten Hag isn't doing it with significant backing. Then they say, well, look, we're going to bring in a manager to play this way. We've brought the right kind of players. Bish, bash, bosh. Ten Hag was asked about his job and his future, and he said a few things. He said he doesn't have any doubts. He loves being here, and this is the challenge. And apparently, Erik ten Hag urged Ratcliffe to have patience with the job he's doing at Man United to resist any temptation. There was a feeling and a suggestion, and I thought it to begin with, that Ten Hag could walk away because Ten Hag used to be saying how it's a condition that he must have control of transfers, and he will not abandon his principles, and he wants to play his way. Whereas the INEOS, they're going to take control of transfers and buy players for him to play another way. I always thought, could Ten Hag walk? But it seems that Ten Hag really wants to make this Man United job work. He's not a quitter. He's willing to relinquish control to make it work. He knows he's a challenge, and he believes in the process. And well, not many people believe in Arteta's process, and it's paying off. So maybe Ten Hag's got right to believe in his process. I wanted to get into a few other reports just that came out recently, and that was said by Rodrigo Faes that when Man United came to sign Casemiro, Real Madrid members told me, please, 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 I hope Man United buy Casemiro as soon as possible. They're crazy about money. They're going to offer 70 million. They hope United will come again for another player. This is what I thought would give you context about what Man United like in the transfer market and what INEOS might solve. I like Casemiro, who was monumental to our success last season, but ultimately I think he needs to be moved on. Ultimately, £70 million for a player that was in his 30s that Real Madrid, just brought Tchouameni, they wanted to move on. I reckon we could have probably gone for 50 or even 40, I think, had we really negotiated it. But Real Madrid knew our desperation after falling in Brentford. But teams see that Man United are coming for their player and they get excited, is basically what Rodrigo Faes is saying. And that is because of how silly we are with decision-making in the transfer window, which hopefully INEOS changes that. And I think maybe one of the reasons we're so reluctant to pay that 20 million for Dan Ashworth is to say, look, we're not going to be that team that gets mugged off and pays what clubs want. So let's talk about appointments. Let's talk about changes going on at United. It said that Omar Bral will arrive in June. Jason Wilcox is done, but on gardening leave. But it's expected that United will get this gardening leave sorted, will give Southampton the little bit of money they want, and Jason Wilcox will be able to start in the summer. It's that there's a feeling that Ashworth won't be here in the summer, but Manchester United are optimistic of reaching a compromise with Newcastle around 10 million in compensation for Dan Ashworth. It's either Dan Ashworth isn't here or Newcastle have to compromise for 10 million and half the asking price of Dan Ashworth. And I think, while I think it's so important that Dan Ashworth is here this summer and we need someone here this summer, I don't want Merton running this summer. I think not giving Newcastle, not bending over to give Newcastle 20 million is a good message of, look, INEOS own Man United now. You can't pull their pants down in the transfer market. Now, talking of the transfer market, I wanted to end on this transfer story. A little bit more news coming out on Faye, the 19-year-old centre-back at Barcelona. He could left side of centre-back, can play right side of centre-back, very two-footed, could play left-back, could play DM, very comfortable on the ball, very physically good. Sort of seen as maybe one of the next big things in football. And reportedly, he is open to leaving Barcelona this summer, and United, we know, have been scouting the defender. They've been scouting a lot of young defenders, whether this is one to go on loan to Nice, whether this is one that Man United sees the future. But it said that Barcelona would want a buyback clause in any future deal, which I don't think Man United are a fan of doing. It was also said that Arsenal have joined United in Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen in the race to sign Faye, but Barcelona's financial constraints mean that Faye could be sold, but they want to get as much as 25 million. I think for a player with that little experience, he's not worth 25 million. I think Faye is a great young player, really, really up-and-coming, exciting player, but I don't think he's worth too much money. I think United need to be signing proven ready players in defence. For me, my ideal transfer window is Todibo, Braithwaite in defence, Matt Weaver in midfield with maybe someone like Jao Neves coming in as well in midfield, and Elise and a Xerxes, and then a young fullback for depth. That's never going to happen realistically. That would be my ideal transfer window. I want ready-made players, and then maybe bringing an Anselmo at Nice and a Faye at Nice, and then you develop them for United in the future. Maybe that's what we could do. But anyway, guys, this was your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. Please do hit the like button on the way out. Hope you found this video informing. I will be back later tonight with a live stream. See you then. Bye.